everybody. Wendy Sellers here, the HR lady. Welcome back to our podcast. I am here with my co-host, JC.
Wendy, it is such a pleasure to see you again. How have you been?
You know, I'm good. I can't complain. I mean, I can, but who the heck's listening, right?
Well, let me tell you something, Ms. Wendy. I've spent a lot of time lately having to do some research into the realm of like legal compliance and recruitment and new markets. My mind is just kind of blown right now. But I think you got something on tap today. Isn't that right?
Yes, we have an amazing guest with us from all the way from Europe and from Berlin, actually. We are here today talking about, anybody who wants to expand to Europe. Our guests will be able to help you do that. They do focus specifically on the tech companies, but any company whatsoever. So I want to talk to our guest today about the role HR or business owners, play in expanding either locally or to another country altogether. With that said, welcome to the show, Sandra Schuett. Hi, Sandra.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So you're the CEO of Glocled in Berlin. Tell us about your company and, what brought you to become the CEO and make this your passion of helping companies expand to Europe.
Of course, happy to do that. So yeah, I do help mainly tech companies expand to Europe with my company called Glocled. I used to live in different countries, including the US, specifically in Silicon Valley. I also studied there. And then I worked mainly in marketing and sales, so like business development, also in the tech industry mainly. As a last stop, so say for SAP, you might have heard of that one. It's a pretty huge company from Germany, where I also received a top performer award. So I was really enjoying that. And I'm now, based in Germany, actually bringing all these background components together to, with my company to help others becoming successful in Europe. So that's what I do.
Well, that's awesome. Well, welcome so much. I'm so interested to hearing about this. I mean, over here in the States, you used to be here. We have so much complication just crossing state borders, which might be right next door. Never mind borders across the country, across the world, I should say. And HR and business owners have so much to deal with, just the legal compliance in itself. Never mind recruitment of people and, getting them to have visas or whatever might be necessary. So thank you so much for bringing, this stuff to our attention. What I wanted to ask you is, what are the challenges, particularly in the HR area?
Yeah, so I usually like to, divide those challenges into two categories. I also would like to say at the beginning, I'm no, legal expert or anything. So all of these beautiful regulatory topics I can't help you with. But what I can help you with and how I would like to divide those challenges is into, a value-based focus and a practical one. So with the value-based focus, what I mean by that is, usually there's this kind of false understanding that companies have that, everything that works in your home market also works abroad.
Right.
Sorry to say.
Yep.
So there are those difficult questions which market makes sense and why? Because also, Europe, it's not one country. So it can be very diverse in itself. Then what are customers and then, own employees' expectations and preferences, which a lot here goes back to local peculiarities in terms of culture. This brings a lot of questions and challenges regarding, then marketing campaigns for their own product or service, but also for recruiting matters, processes, because nobody knows you over there and you have to not only show you there, but also gain their trust, which is why you need to be able to understand those local peculiarities or differences and adjust your communication activities accordingly. And then, the second part is the practical one, which I like to call the no network overseas that you have. So who are the people that at the end of the day, execute based on those answers that you found from what I was saying before, like those value questions, like who will be running those new campaigns, recruiting processes, the sales activities to then, close the deals at the end of the day. Depending on your product service, you might wonder who are the right distributors also, like which industry fair should you go to. So yeah, lots of questions under the topic challenges, but there are answers.
Yeah, absolutely. Way back in the day, I worked with a company that was doing mergers and acquisitions and growing worldwide. Well, growing mostly in the United States. And then they started growing worldwide. And I was like, oh, I got this. I can hire in Asia. I got that. And I was like, quickly like, nope. No, I cannot. I have no clue what those laws are. I have no clue what the customs are. And so we did have to bring in somebody over there who was an expert at all of this. And I was so grateful for my company for not thinking I was going to be able to flip around miracles and figure out a whole other set of countries' laws overnight. JC, I think you have some stats for us to share.
Yes, I do. Now, after researching this amazing company, I grabbed this one from the trenches. According to Glocled, companies with culturally adaptive marketing strategies can experience up to a 42% higher revenue growth in new international markets compared to those focusing only on a single region. And in 2023, 75% of HR professionals identified attracting and retaining talent as their top challenge, especially when we're thinking about the global marketplace. Back to you.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. If we're struggling with attracting talent where we're at now, like where we live and work now, whatever state that's in, I can't even imagine going, oh, okay, let's just go open a new market over there to make more money, of course. So this definitely underscores the importance of tailoring the approaches to local preferences so that you can attract not only, candidates, but customers too, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and it's very well researched. Thank you for your research here. No, absolutely. So this is like where I like to mention that, local experts are the way to go. Like you need some support, especially like overseas. And like this is where the value-based and practical challenges come together to find a solution, the ones that I was mentioning before. So like also, especially like at the beginning, depending on where you are, like with your, let's say, expansion journey, those local experts, they can really help you like testing the waters first, as I like to call it, because, obviously like at the beginning, you don't have neither the budget nor the time nor the knowledge to have like different departments overseas for like everything you need to become successful. And this is also where very often really bad mistakes can happen, which I like to call it, because, you don't know the market and you want to maybe save budget, save money, and then you just do some sales activities to kind of see what's going on over there. But a lot of components have to go hand in hand. Like you still need your campaigns, your marketing, your lead generation. You can't just have someone cold calling 100 people in Spain. And then if nobody makes a deal, it doesn't work, like I'm exaggerating here, but you see what I mean? So yeah, you really need to have some sort of a systematic approach to grow at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the systematic approach, getting the experts involved, getting local experts involved, and making sure that you're thinking of the expansion very clearly like a project. So you have to plan for it in the moment and then act later. So I have a question here. We talked about new markets, recruitment a little bit, legal compliance, getting experts involved. What about like cultural differences and the peculiarities of dealing with different cultures just because they're different countries? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. So like those local peculiarities or cultural ones, like those can affect a lot of things, like internally and also externally. Like when you think of like external, yes, like your sales and marketing, like I very often recommend to adjust your campaigns, like the way you communicate externally, but also your internal ones, like with your colleagues that come from different cultural backgrounds. Now, you can't know every little detail, of course, of like a cultural preference or like value system when you work with colleagues from around the world. So the best way to go here is to work on your intercultural awareness abilities. I know it's like a big word, but it basically means to, first of all, be aware that there are such peculiarities. And then a next step can be to try to decode a situation instead of judging, like that's the whole idea. Like intercultural expertise, of course, can help here. And, like just to mention some that you might want to think of when like a misunderstanding happen or you want to avoid, like there's like, do your communication styles differ in terms of like a direct or indirect approach, for example? Because, in some countries, communication tends to be very direct. Feedback, opinion, and even disagreements are expressed like very openly. I would say Germany could be an example here. We're pretty direct, but this can be like real surprises, right? To colleagues from other cultures where like an indirect approach is preferred, like where messages may be conveyed rather subtly to avoid confrontation. And those misunderstandings can arise if directness is seen as like bluntness, or the other way around, like indirectness as like being, evasive. Yeah.
110%. And a recent survey by the Economist Intelligence Unit found that 90% of executives cite cross-cultural management as a huge challenge in global business.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically what she just said. And it highlights the needs for training, for intercultural competence and understanding of the cultures that you're going into to drive successful international collaboration. And I just wanted to say a little side note here that, by birth, I'm partially German, of German descent, and I am incredibly direct. And so I'm going to blame it on that from now on.
I like that.
Let's talk about leadership styles, though, and training. Here in the United States, we have a lot of states and different leadership styles across the states, but really just across the hallway, people are unique. What are your thoughts about that across countries?
Yeah, so with like the leadership style, so there's basically even like two things that come together, like when you send a colleague overseas, let's say. So first of all, it's like a new surrounding for this person anyways, like in a new country, in a new culture. And then secondly, like this colleague has to, lead a team from like different cultural groups with different values. So for sure, it's good to have like, a training in advance, and then maybe even, like a coach or an expert they can talk to on a regular basis, because there's so many things that can go wrong. Like I usually like to mention this one example, which is when you think of like incentive programs, for example. Maybe you're like used to having your salespeople ring a bell, when they close a deal, and they love it. They kind of like to show off. They feel it, and they're very motivated by it. But this could go totally wrong in another market with another culture, because people don't like showing off. They prefer to stay, in like a collective environment, like all together with the rest of the group. And imagine like your deals would drop just because people would feel uncomfortable ringing the bell. Like it's really being a little dramatic here for sure. But those are things that can go really wrong when like you're not aware of those things in your leadership style.
A recent Deloitte survey found that 86% of executives worldwide view leadership development as a key organizational challenge, emphasizing the growing need for adaptable leadership training that aligns with diverse cultural and regional expectations. Back to you.
Yeah, that definitely has me thinking that company that I used to work with a long time ago that I mentioned we were expanding over there. We in the Asian markets, we realized very quickly after there was just one trip that went over, was like, wait a minute, we need some cultural sensitivity training stat. Even for the people like myself who never got on a plane and went over there, I was communicating with these people on the regular basis as the HR director. So very, very important. Thank you for bringing that up. I didn't even think about that when we started this conversation, but it's so important for our leaders today, our managers, our supervisors, and our good old regular employees who are going to be coworkers to understand that different cultures act and react differently. And if we want to be successful, which we do, otherwise, why would we be in business? We have to think about these things in advance. This has just been amazing and a lot of aha moments for me. So thank you so much for being here. How can people find you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, of course. So I do have a website, which is glocled.com. And then I'm always happy to connect via LinkedIn, of course, with my, personal profile, Sandra Schuett, or also the Glocled page.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We'll make sure that we have that information in the podcast notes. So wherever you're listening from in this podcast, you should be able to find her contact information in there and her LinkedIn. On a side note, I do want to ask everybody, do you love JC's radio voice? If you do, like I do, did you know that he's an experienced event MC? And if you need an MC for your event, just reach out to JC at jimconnors.net. We hope this has been helpful, everybody. Thanks for joining us and take care.